All right, this is going to be a crazy one, guys, so just try and bear with me. There's a lot to go through here. So, as I was getting ready to cook dinner tonight, sliced my finger cleaning dishes and all that good stuff, I came across this Twitter thread, and it is just mind-blowing. So, a lot of this is going to revolve around Grummz, Mark Kern, but then there's another person involved known as Giga Bear, which makes this even more intriguing and yet even more confusing. So basically, the discourse the last few weeks has been all about Grummz, Mark Kern, former developer at World of Warcraft, who has caused a big stink for a lot of the game journos, a lot of the studios, who are pushing more of the DEI stuff, the woke crap, all that crap in video games that we don't want. And he has made himself persona non grata, enemy number one for a lot of these people. He's basically at the top of their hit list, both figuratively and literally, where you have people making quote, air quote jokes about putting bounties on him to make him disappear, including which you even have like Twitch streamers upping the bounty from 20,000 to 30,000. I believe the person's name was Denim's TV. Somebody alleged that they are also an OF girl. I have no idea about that. I'm not going to bother checking into it. Don't care. And that's this Twitch streamer right here. To which fellow Twitch streamer Caseytron said, "The way these men are pearl-clutching, threatening police reports and the FBI is almost as funny as seeing all the same degen incel men crying about an inch of clothing being added to a digital character," talking again about Stellar Blade censorship. Of course, you've got Grummz now saying how he has a bounty that's up to 50k because somebody else tweeted down below, Gremlow on Twitter says, "I'll raise it to 50,000 only because the ass coalition's not being represented," making a joke because Denim said she wants more boob in the video game. Alyssa Mercante, senior editor or editor-in-chief, whatever her title is, over at Kotaku says, "Oh my god, I DM'd you," obviously celebrating this as some sort of big win. Now we've got Nick Calandra, and this is where the story gets really interesting. Nick Calandra is a journalist, editor-in-chief over at Second Wind Group, which is his own little media outlet. He is the former editor-in-chief of The Escapist, another one of these websites that's not doing so hot because a lot of this games media industry is suffering due to cutbacks and the money drying up and the audience just not being there for a lot of this kind of content. Now, Nick has been on a month-long crusade against Grummz, and I'm going to be very fair and honest right now. I'm very blunt. I don't know Mark Kern. I don't know, Grummz as he goes by on Twitter. Personally, I follow what he says. I look into some of it. If I'm going to report on it, make a video about it. Other than that, I've never given the man a dime. I'm not subscribed to his game service, whatever this subscription service we're going to go through is. I'm not subscribed to him on Twitter. I am not saying don't do that. I'm just saying I am not financially supporting Grummz in any way. I am just looking at the things he says and reporting on them. But this has gotten quite interesting with Nick Calandra reporting on a lot of this stuff and the ensuing fallout that we're going to cover briefly. So, back on April 6th, Nick Calandra says, "I think my favorite thing about Mark Kern is that his third failed game, Ember, has an option to buy, quote, founders packs for up to $1,500. And you can see those right here. And again, it's a lot of the same kind of stuff you get from Star Citizen and a lot of these other games where you can essentially purchase massive amount of in-game cosmetics and ship designs and all this crazy stuff. The difference being that this game that he's talking about, Ember, has not been released yet. And of course, he compares it to the day before, that failed zombie game where the studio shut down. And he says this is as far as his latest project got before his last update 2 years ago. The updates were just concept art, nothing from the actual game because it clearly doesn't exist. I am not saying the game doesn't exist. I have not dedicated enough time looking into Ember itself. And I'm sure many of you who are more familiar with Grummz and his work can tell me in the comments if you believe it's a scam or not. I am not making any claims whatsoever about the game being a scam, not being as advertised. I'm just reporting on what Nick Calandra is saying. So he continued by saying they are still accepting money. Seems there's about 4 people working on the project and they're very focused on revamping the website due to increased attention. You might think he's using all of his Twitter outrage to find a way to get funding. I mean, that very well could be. I mean, Mark Kern has been asking people to subscribe based on the amount of time he spends on Twitter, and maybe that money is getting funneled into his game. I don't think that would be a negative thing, just so we're being clear about that. Nick also goes on to say the Kickstarter is still planned since 2017, so that is a 7-year Kickstarter, if that's when the Kickstarter was originally planned. How about some FOMO, putting skins on sale for a game that doesn't exist and only has a limited time so that the suckers give them money for things that have zero value. Been selling skins for a game that doesn't exist since 2017. And again, unfortunately, whether or not you agree with this practice, it does seem to be something you see more in the predatory AAA gaming industry, where you do have a lot more of these limited time skins, or especially in the Apex Legends side of things, where you have reskins where they take the same skin and just recolor it and sell it again for more money. So I don't love it, but if it's your kind of thing, I'm not going to tell you not to spend your money on it. He then went on to say it gets better. He also has a monthly subscription service. He's making a novel, tabletop RPG, but you notice how he doesn't advertise any of this on Twitter because even his audience would call it out. And you can see here, yes, you have this monthly patron, 1 month for $8, help fund the development of Ember while earning premium skins and gain access to dev builds, collect a skin each month, access previous developer test builds, read draft chapters, read draft rules. I don't know. Maybe one of you guys in the comments can tell me, are you subscribed as a patron? Can you tell me, what that actually entails? I am not going to make claims that this is a scam. I just know that it looks a little odd. It definitely, Sid Alpha on YouTube, who does very good investigative work, has said this does seem a little sus. Now, on April 7th, he says, let's revisit the top backer now that he's good with the project again, but will not say why or what Kern told him to suddenly change his mind. And he's talking about Giga Bear. Giga Bear, the more I look into this, has a very weird past. If this Giga Bear guy is the exact Giga Bear that I'm seeing threads about other places online, this is where things get very odd. Giga Bear once claimed that he had given $15,000 worth of backing, including, all this stuff for an Omni Ace tier, and he'll be getting nothing. Don't give this guy a dime. And I do believe in this, he is speaking about Mark Kern, okay? He said he not only took a 3-month vacation on the backer's dime start of the year, but has done similar things repeatedly throughout the development, which is why this campaign still has not delivered a mere demo for the Kickstarter. And then 3 months ago, so an update from the one year ago says, the backers are now paying to fund this guy's Blender tutorials. Kind of amazing seeing how on Twitter attack other devs over title screens in light of that. But then you see here from April 7th, believe it or not, Grummz and I were friends before we had a falling out. Community issues made it difficult to resolve everything as quickly as we would have liked, but we got there and I said a lot of inflammatory stuff in the interim. So this is him backing off of these previous claims. As to the project happening, well, to that I will only say that part of why the situation was so difficult to resolve was my refusal to accept a refund in the first place, which is interesting. He says the journos are even trying to rope me, a huge supporter of this project, into the drama and cast me as some sort of disgruntled backer. Don't buy it. I would say by his own statements, he sounded pretty disgruntled. So he responded to this thread here and said, you're deliberately using my retracted statements from a year ago to defame Mark Kern. Once again, I have complete and unfettered access to my account and all backer packages for which I paid for. Nick Calandra says, well, you made those statements and I asked you in good faith why the change of heart on the project, and then you went and used it to proclaim the project is being, quote, attacked while people are asking where the rest of the money went. Giga Bear responds and says a few hundred people are now wondering why you didn't exercise basic journalist ethics and retract the claim that I got scammed when requested to by me since it's patently false. Nick says, I shared your own public statements that were publicly available for anyone to find. They're all over the place and have a lot of details. And yes, as I was saying previously, there's a lot of the mention of this Giga Bear guy online that I'm starting to discover. So Giga Bear says, I don't have an issue with resurfacing these statements. I never even attempted to deny writing them. It's intentionally leaving out my own retraction of those statements, which misleads people into believing Mark took my money for nothing that I'm taking issue with. So this is him sticking up for Mark Kern. Which is weird because, again, if I said those kind of things about somebody, I would never come back and stick up for him. So Nick responded to all this on April 8th saying, I'm going to make this very clear since you're trying to paint me out as a liar in multiple places. You posted very public statements about your feelings towards Kern and his Indiegogo campaign. Anyone can see those, and I've shared statements you made multiple times. And you can see here, he says a year ago, I have receipts, but I guess at this point it doesn't matter. Will Ember get made? I don't see how, simply because development has taken too long and the enthusiasm and confidence for backers is gone. And then there's this issue of the Kickstarter. Kind of hard to be on Kickstarter when you sold someone a tier and refused to deliver before you launched the campaign. So again, yes, a year ago he was calling this essentially a scam. And then he responded to somebody named River Miles and says, that's a screenshot of an Indiegogo campaign. Did I say it? Yes, I was wrong, and he did in fact honor everything I had paid for. It was honestly a stupid thing to say. When the journalist got it, he never asked me about it all before making that thread. And then even when I found it and told him it wasn't true, he flat refused to even include my saying that in his repeated tweeting about it, much less retract it. So again, these two are going round and round about whether or not this retraction should have happened due to all these things that were said. And then you have down here, Nick responds and says, you are now running around to delete all those statements which were detailed in your issues with Kern and his campaign. and smearing me to discredit the reporting I'm doing. So these two are not friends, okay? Giga Bear and Nick are not friends. And yet, after Nick continues on April 9th to talk about Grummz and Ember and all this investigative work he's doing, comparing 3D models from in-game to a newer Unreal Engine 5 version of it, and all this other stuff, kaiju battles that were promised, he says about Grummz, he may have every intention of making this game, but he cannot, and as has promised for so many things at this point that he's in over his head and is just continuing to make money for promises he can't keep. Again, his claim, not mine. But then it gets really weird. So he has this thread talking about all the things that he's documented up on this point, Giga Bear turning on Kerns, the Indiegogo fact checks, all the stuff we've gone through. And then he has this screenshot from June 13th of 2022, seemingly, implicating Grummz in this really weird refusal to refund Giga Bear's game, right? So Giga Bear here in a DM to Grummz says, "What are you suggesting?" And this is from June 13th of 2022. Grummz says, "You sent an email to support once asking for a refund. We don't do refunds, but I know you seem to want one and want out. If that's the case, why don't we give you one in exchange for an agreement to never harm or disparage the project or staff and indemnify us? We could do the refund on KS or 1 year, whichever is sooner. You could walk away." Very strange verbiage, right? Then you have people like this Alexander Brazy coming in here saying that he's got information on Kern, how Kern flew him out to California to train as a producer and basically ignored him, got pissed when the guy asked him questions. If not for these other two guys, he basically would never have had a job in the gaming industry. Again, more statements that I don't think anybody has proof to back up. Now 10 hours ago today, this is where things get very spicy. Nick has said, "Welp, I have official confirmation now on Mark Kern coercing Giga Bear, his top backer, into speaking positively on his project from Giga Bear himself. I received an anonymous tip that confirms what I suspected in my reporting. The tweet from Giga Bear confirms this conversation happened," and this is where things get weird. You have this account, Rusty Nail, talking to Giga Bear, and Giga Bear says, "What's up?" Rusty says, "We need to talk about your future with my project." And Giga says, "Is there a problem?" Rusty responds, "Apparently you've been a problem in several communities, and I need to make sure you won't be one in mine." And Giga says, "Is this about that stupid game journal smearing me?" Rusty says, "He has a lot on you, buddy. Why don't you explain your relationship with Mark Kern? He's been harassing people on social media a lot lately, and you seem to be helping." Giga says, "Mark hasn't told anyone to harass anyone. Actually, he's been very clear nobody should do that." So again, we have Giga sticking up for Grummz. Rusty says, "I'm not here to debate this with you. Me and my staff want nothing to do with this guy, and it's only because you spent so much money with us that I'm even talking to you right now. What is going on with you and him? Why are you supporting him?" Giga says, "My associations are frankly none of your business." Rusty says, "You doxed a developer already, made threats with firearms, and plenty more." And this is where Giga Bear's history gets very strange. Rusty says, "I will do what I have to do to protect myself and my employees. If you do not cooperate with me, I'm going to leave this DM and ban you immediately." So further down this thread, Nick Calandra says, "For further clarification on Giga Bear's tweet confirming this tip, here's his tweet timestamped in case he deletes it." And of course, Giga Bear has gone around deleting a lot of his posts, apparently, according to this Nick guy. He says, "Sharing this around is extremely helpful to helping more people come forward about Kern and people associated with him in this grift, his prior work history, which is a ton of horror stories attached to it, and more. My email's in my bio and your identity will be protected." Nick goes on to say, "Giga Bear, you can reach out to me if you want help with this. You are a victim in this case despite your past activity, and people will support you in not being used in this way." He then goes on to say, "Somebody asked about it in Discord, and whomever is running it is wiping the Discord clean. I don't know how much more confirmation you need. I expect that Discord will quietly go away, and Kern will try to spin this against Giga Bear on Twitter very quickly." Once you get down to the bottom of this thread, Nick 5 hours ago says, "Well, as an update on this, Giga Bear faked his entire identity to coerce me into covering this to discredit me, and unfortunately it seems I did fall for it. I apologize for the error and will quadruple check any source that reaches out to me now in response." This is where shit gets really weird. Grummz, of course, is celebrating, saying, "Yo, Nick, did you just post defamatory material without verification? You just got Project Veritas, and I'm filing it away with my attorneys." Rusty Nail was a, what do they say when you swap the letters around to spell a different word? For urinalist. How did you ever fall for that? And of course, you have this post from Giga Bear confirming all of this, saying, "For weeks, Nick of Second Wind Group has been publishing an endless stream of smears and baseless claims against Grummz and myself. I sought to demonstrate how desperate this man is to publish anything he can use to that end, no matter how flimsy or lacking of corroboration or veracity. So I sent him an anonymous email with a story too good to be true. I then posted a tiny fraction of the supposed conversation to my Twitter, knowing that where attacking Grummz is concerned, he would immediately run the story before he even verified it. And he did just that. Rusty Nail does not exist. In fact, Rusty Nail is an anagram, there's the word, of urinalist. The project I supposedly backed does not exist. The conversation is a complete fabrication made in page source between 2 of my own Discord accounts, and he fell for it hook, line, and sinker. And of course, you have Nick finally saying, to clarify for my own sanity on this, I did not post the Discord chat of Giga Bear until he shared it publicly, first on his Twitter account. I only posted it when he seemingly verified it himself, but then deleted that tweet to hide that, timestamped. And of course, the really weird thing is in response to this, somebody shared this this Reddit post about Giga Bear's past. And this is where things take a very strange turn. So Giga Bear, according to Reddit, if this is the same individual, has a long history of harassing people, threatening people, doxing people, all sorts of weird behavior, demanding to be made a mod even though he has had issues in a Discord server, all sorts of stuff being banned from Discord servers, being banned from actual accounts, like developers over at Intrepid had removed his account, banned him from the studio's access and all that. This old archive Twitter thread, which has a lot of this weird information in it. I don't know, that there's so much here that it is impossible to get down to the bottom of what is true and what is not with this Giga Bear account, if this is the same Giga Bear, or even what's going on. All I know is Nick Calandra, to his credit, when I searched for tweets from his past, he had never said much negative stuff in the past about gamers. In fact, quite the opposite. He was actually very supportive of gamers up until recently. And I found this one tweet here where he says, the amount of people I've blocked because they're mad at me that I don't care what games they buy or don't buy has been astounding this week. I'm also part of some government conspiracy theory now, apparently. We're living in one of those dumb parody movies. And again, people have talked about how, maybe the concept of voting with your wallet's forgotten. And he says these groups constantly preach it too, but seem to never actually follow it because they want every game tailor-made for them and apparently want to buy every game that exists. Someone here says, you're psychologizing a group you oppose smugly. Of course you're going to seem cunty. And Nick responds, dude, I play and enjoy video games. I am that group. I'm just not an idiot going around and calling people cunts and that is mad at the world because a video game has diversity in it. He even says the much oppressed, quote, gamers, so oppressed that you don't have to buy games you don't want to play. The AAA companies and game medias are invading your basement to force diversity down your throat. So clearly at some point, whether it was because of political pressure, ideological leanings on Nick's part, he has definitely fallen for the lie of DEI in gaming, to the point where he is now attacking gamers who are fighting against the woke agenda being injected into games. As far as Giga Bear goes, I am lost at who this person is, whether they are real, whether they're the same Giga Bear as the past Discord bannings would indicate. I have no idea, but this has just taken a strange turn. I'm curious what you guys think about that. If any of you know about this Giga Bear guy or what has transpired in the past, please feel free to share. I am all ears on this one. But again, just for the record, I'm not saying Grummz is a scammer. I'm not saying that his game is a scam. I am just saying that there's a lot of weird information out there, and I'm curious what the truth is in all this. So let me know down below what you think, and I will catch you later. All right, and if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you for being here. I do have 2 channels, Minimal Effort Podcast, as well as my gaming channel. I do have a Twitch and Kick for my gaming channel. We do live streams over there occasionally, maybe once a week. And then if you are in the market for a new PC, make sure to check out Meta PCs. Click the link I have down below. Use code TBO at checkout for a special discount. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time.